And once again this evening, Sarah Larner joins us from outside the courthouse in Lethbridge. Sarah, these are victim impact statements, and they also had an impact on the people inside the courtroom. You were there. What was that like?
Yeah, it was definitely an emotional day. And I have to begin by saying the victim impact statements were mostly read by the Crown Attorney. The only people there who were actually reading their own impact statements were a grandmother of Haley Dunbar Blanchette and a friend of Hannah Mekatek. So instead of looking at the faces of family and friends to gauge emotion in the room, you had to look around. But at least half the jurors in this case have chosen to return for sentencing, and they cried when the statements were read. The judge, when one of the statements were read, had to look down into his hands to keep himself composed because it visibly impacted him, the words he was hearing. Even one of the sheriffs had to look up at the ceiling to keep his tears from rolling down his face. Reporters cried. And as I said, the Crown actually read most of the impact statements herself. And when she came to the statement from Amanda Blanchette, the sister of Terry Blanchette, her voice started cracking when she recalled how Haley Dunbar Blanchette used to crinkle her nose when she smiled. And so it was clearly emotional. But it kind of all came to a fore. You'll remember that in his confession video, Derek Saretzky said he killed Hannah Mekatek because he didn't think anyone would care. So her friend stood up. Her friend Carrie Morency stood up today and said, quote, "I cared about Hannah Mekatek," and called Derek Saretzky an indescribable beast. But all of that emotion really turned into frustration when the sentencing ended up being delayed until August.
So frustration, obviously a lot of grief in the courtroom, and wouldn't it be hard to imagine as well that the families of the victims would be angry, certainly at Derek Saretzky. But you're the only reporter who interviewed members of the Blanchette family. You talked to Terry Blanchette's sister before the trial, and you were saying that she certainly has no anger directed towards the Saretzky family.
Yeah, that's right. I spoke with her a little over a month ago, and her capacity for forgiveness is incredible. She's without a doubt one of the strongest people I've ever met. In her impact statement today, she did say, quote, "I will pray for the soul of Derek Saretzky." And that was very much in keeping with what we had talked about in our conversation. She talked about a letter that her mom had written the Saretzky family saying how they did not blame them for what Derek Saretzky had done. In the few text message exchanges I've had with her, she's described this trial as horrific. And it's especially horrific because the family did not know any of the details before the trial started. And with the support of police, they've learned all the gruesome details with the rest of the world.
And briefly, I just want to ask you one other thing. You'd mentioned yesterday that Saretzky almost seemed to enjoy the attention of this trial. Any reaction from him today during the victim impact statements being read?
A little bit. I mean, it's hard for us to tell. He does face away from us, but there was definitely at one point he was grinning.
Sarah Larner in Lethbridge, thank you very much.
Thank you.